Welcome back to In His Mind. So this video is going to be complimentary to the one that is in the description down below, so feel free to check that out before or after. It doesn't really matter, but this does actually matter to you, especially if you are critical of hearing nothing but Bible verses thrown on about this topic of entertainment. This does tie in with the other couple videos I've done about, the adult communities and adult entertainment and stuff like that. It does matter. That goes off in a different direction though. Now, as far as this one goes, I have heard time and time again of nothing but Bible verses on this particular topic. I'm an Army veteran. I've been deployed to Iraq twice, 2008, 2010. So, believe me when I say entertainment does matter. However, there are specific points that I need to address since they seem to be quote-unquote conveniently forgotten or ignored. The thing is, God's glory does come first, but our health also matters. God has stated multiple times in the Bible about our health being important. However, when I looked it up, it was tied to some very interesting points here as far as with sanctification and purity. I want to add that in there because that does matter. This isn't just simply our health matters. That's never stated in the Bible as far as I'm aware, but it's always attached to something that is biblical. However, I do want to bring some recognition to those who are in the medical field and those who are in the military side. The tendency to check out and self-delete is very high, and we have multiple people every single day just checking out. They're gone. So in that sense, entertainment is needed to help deal with reality. First and foremost, that, tied to our health, that matters. Second, the primary Bible verse that I want to bring up here is, Jesus replied, "I tell you, if these people keep silent, the stones will cry out, quote unquote, in praise." Luke 19:40. This matters because this particular point of entertainment is about praise and worship and words. It's around words in general that matter. They have power, they have meaning. In some cases, they have authority. There's a lot wrapped up in praise and worship. So in that form of entertainment, that does actually matter. When it talks about TV and stuff where you're intaking visually, that's not really the case. That's not what I'm referring to. That's not what I'm pointing out. But I will say that other people who talk about this stuff with the points that I'll bring up here that I wrote down, tied particularly with the video down below, binging, lifestyle, entertaining and false refuge, wasting time, legalism and too many rules, lust of flesh and eyes, carnal knowledge, worldly passions, pride of life, and then the last part is not to be tempted to sin. All of these are points that are tied to what is going on in the entertainment in the world that should be noticed. The thing is, when you're binging on this stuff, it becomes a lifestyle, and the lifestyle itself usually adds a lot of things, drama, understandings, and other stuff that adds complications to your life or whatever. It doesn't add anything beneficial to your life. It basically adds a lot of stuff to your life that cause issues and problems. Of course, you can prevent lifestyles, you can change them, or they can be broken. God can intervene and allow something to break that. It sucks and it hurts, but it's needed. Breaking out the old so the new, healthier stuff can come into place to replace it all does actually kind of matter. That goes off into a different topic, though. Alright, so false refuge, when you're turning to something like entertainment where you are trying to check out from reality, that's a little different and goes into coping mechanisms, so to speak. That does kind of matter because time is needed to heal. It's needed to process. But at the same time, you could be going on there for extended periods of time. I mean, therapy costs money. We don't always have that money, I know. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about staying there for an extended amount of time rather than just simply using to help deal with your current situation. My current situation is tied with my work here. This is an example. 3 months of just trying to deal with a coworker not being there and another coworker just having health issues. So it's just like, I feel like I'm in emergency mode for who knows how long. Like I said, about 3 months now, where I'm just constantly at work, and it's hard. It's hard on me. Finding ways to get away from work has been a very real challenge for me. So like, my health has been affected here in multiple different ways here, and that's just an example as far as why I need entertainment, is so I can check out from work. Don't get me wrong, I'm not binging on it. I'm trying to show where it can fit into your life by using an example from my own. So a false refuge is something that you turn to, that you run to help, like, quote unquote save you or protect you, that sort of thing. Entertainment as a whole, outside of worship and praise and music and stuff like that I think the preachers and pastors have addressed correctly. I generally do. It's just hard to take when they throw a whole bunch of Bible verses at you, and it's just like, where's the real life applications? Where's the examples? Where's the visual examples that I can see, that I can understand? Because some people, they understand when they see things or when they go through them and experience them, not just simply when they hear them. That is critical, because the way people learn is important. Oh boy. So I wrote down honor the Lord, and while that is not in the world, because the world is more physical and less spiritual, people who care about what is spiritual are going to hone in on that point. As in, they're going to hone in on the spiritual sides, that honor the Lord, sanctification, acknowledging what is worldly or what is spiritual, and the last one that I put is not to be tempted to sin. That's a big one, because helping someone to fall and putting a stumbling block in their path is something that many people will notice, even if they are not spiritual, surprisingly. They're going to notice when you're trying to mess with them somehow to cause issues. Now, if it's accidental, it's accidental. Big whoop. Hey, I didn't realize this was actually causing you issues. Apologies. Sending them stuff that kind of gets under the skin with something, usually it'll be visually related. Sending a picture that it's fine to you, but it's not to them. It's either going to be visual or it's going to be auditorial, like music. All right. Let me see here as far as the points that I wrote down here. I think legalism and too many rules adds different perspectives to this that matter. However, that being said, where it falls into your life, you should take notice as well. For people like myself who need structure, it's easy to fall into both of that, where it's like we need help to to keep stuff limited. Oops, now we have too much of it in our life. Too many rules, too many people telling us what to do. Yeah, it's easy to slip into this stuff. Lastly, there's too much of the world that kind of just pushes for more and more and more, which ties into lust of the flesh and eyes, carnal knowledge, worldly passions, and pride of life. This does kind of matter, but I've noticed that back in the 90s, the early 2000s, TV shows that were for kids were actually wholesome, and they didn't have a lot of stuff that led them astray and added a lot of issues and problems to their life. I think the only really acknowledgeable one was, and this is questionable, but the whole be aware of strangers. That whole part isn't exactly helpful, but it is raising a decent quote unquote red flag, awareness to what's out there that you should be careful of. So in that sense, while that is questionable as far as the outcome, it's good to raise awareness to potential issues and problems. That's not exactly spiritual though. That's physical, these people you don't know could actually hurt you. In a sense, Christians are supposed to take that in stride and well, we're supposed to take them in stride in some way, shape, or form. You know, missionaries and people who work with the homeless, volunteer at shelters. Yeah, like, we take that in stride. Anyway. Oof. Okay, so some Bible verses I wrote down here. Actually, the second main verse that I wrote down is, everything is permissible for me, but not all things are beneficial. Everything's permissible for me, but I will not be enslaved by anything and brought under its power, allowing it to control me. I used Amplified Bible, by the way, if you're curious. Supplementary verses. Then they will cry out to me, my God, we of Israel know you. Hosea 8:2. My son, if you receive my words and treasure my commandments within you, so that your ear is attentive to skillful and godly wisdom, and apply your heart to understanding, seeking it conscientiously and striving for it eagerly. That last part is in parentheses. Yes, if you cry out for insight and lift up your voice for understanding, if you seek skillful and godly wisdom as you would silver and search for her, because wisdom is referred to as a female. As you would hidden treasures, then you would understand the reverent fear of the Lord, parentheses, that is worshiping him and regarding him as truly awesome, parentheses, and discover the knowledge of God, Proverbs 1:7. For the Lord gives skillful and godly wisdom, from his mouth come knowledge and understanding, Proverbs 2:1-6. Job 35:12-13. The people cry out, but he does not answer because of the pride of evil men. Surely God will not listen to an empty cry, which lacks trust, nor will the Almighty regard it. So, the first two supplementary verses is basically, praise and worship is one way to get to know God. And it is internal, it's instinctive, it's something that we usually all recognize. The world distorts that into something that redirects it back to ourselves or other people. The stars, the people that we hold in regards or respect, that we tend to listen to, look at, to follow, stuff like that. They don't exactly add to our lives in a beneficial way. They just kind of like grab our attention, and that's about it, really. They don't really have much of an impact on our lives that should be positive. That's my opinion, though. I want to say that the second part is talking about how praise and worship is akin to treasure, and treasure being in the sense that wisdom is treasure. Let me see here. So, praise and worship isn't exactly a way to search out God, but it is a way to... I'm trying to figure out how to say this. Praise and worship is a way to go to God, where there are tons of treasure. I wish I could explain this better. What I'm seeing here is fascinating. That's why I wrote it down. Yeah, anyway, Proverbs 2:1-6. If you can look at more of that later in your own Bible, per se, because you may not be using the Amplified Bible. Now, the last one here, well, the one with Job, I want to say that there's too much vanity. I agree with the video. There's too much vanity. There's too much pride of life. There's too much of the worldly stuff out there where people, when they cry out to God, when they worship and praise, it's not sincere. It's false. It's hollow. And it's not focused on God's glory. Yeah. Like, people will be ignored when they are not clean and when they are not right before the Lord. I want to say that the ex-warlocks and ex-witches, they're right on this matter. Like, if you are not before the Lord in the correct manner, you will be ignored. There's a bit of a warning there, but it's also a bit of some interesting knowledge that they have learned or have seen because of their lifestyle and their choices that they've made. So I do believe there is some wisdom there as far as how you approach the Lord. And it's easy to do so in and through praise and worship. It really is. It's some of the easiest things out there, because songs from the heart, they generally come naturally because you want to. Now, Philippians 4, 8 through 10 is very common about the whole like excellence thing. But I want to note that in my Bible, it's put as the passage 4:8. It starts off with think of excellence, but it goes into God's provisions, which is where 4:10, verse 10. That's where it is. I'll run through it again in case you forget. Finally, believers, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is worthy of respect, whatever is right, whatever is confirmed by God's words, whatever is pure and wholesome, whatever is lovely and brings peace, whatever is admirable and of good repute, if there is any of excellence, if there is anything worthy of praise, think continually on these things. The things which you have learned and received and heard and seen in me, practice these things, and the God of peace and well-being will be with you. I rejoice greatly in the Lord that now at last you have renewed your concern for me. Indeed, you were concerned about me before, but you had no opportunity to show it. Entertainment leads to opportunity. It leads to blessing. It leads to a lot that blesses our life, that enhances our life, that positively adds to it. So I want to say that the critical point that these pastors and preachers are missing out is the point of God's glory that goes to bless our life, to make our life more abundant, that falls under provisions for us. I am a military veteran. I'm an Army veteran, and I have struggled with the worst year of my life was 2015, when I struggled with wanting to go in the middle of a church and to self-delete, so to speak. It's rather painful, and I don't like talking about it, but I need to bring this point up because you hit these parts of your life where you are struggling to get by, to overcome, to deal with. And in that sense, entertainment can help you out tremendously, because it gives you a way out from these situations. And when God says that He'll provide for us, that is where entertainment falls at in our life. This matters, but it's something that you need to take time to think about because of how it matters to you, how this is applied to you. That's it. I wasn't trying to go too much past 15 minutes, but it's incredibly important because of just how much of this stuff we struggle with. Oh man, it just bothers me when people say like entertainment's bad, it's evil, blah blah blah, and then they just go on a rant, and it's just like, are you kidding me? Are you missing this incredibly important point here? And the fact is, people generally struggle with this stuff until it's directly pointed out to them. That's it. I hope this was helpful to you. All right, take it easy.